it's your girl about Apris, and today we're going to be talking about how to publish a book on Amazon. And I'm going to share with you guys how I published my book, part of the writing process and inspiration behind me writing Young, Wild, and Free. So first I want to show you guys the book. This is Young, Wild, and Free, and it is a 31-day devotional for women in college. I actually wrote it right after I graduated from college, so that was my inspiration in writing the devotional. I would say one of the main things that inspired me to write a book is after graduating college, I wanted to share a big part of my experience in being in college and developing a personal relationship with God and growing so much and learning so much about myself and what I was passionate about. So I decided to put that into a book and share that with other women that may be struggling with identity or trying to figure out what their next move is, whether it's changing their major in college or whether it's, deciding what type of job you want after college. So I got the title Young, Wild, and Free from a quote that I really like, and I don't know who the author of the quote is, but I think it's an unknown quote, and that quote is, "In a field of roses, she is a wildflower." So I just wanted young women in college to embrace their uniqueness, embrace themselves being different. I know we tend to shy away from those things, but being bold about who you are and being bold about your purpose and your identity. I know there is a negative stigma around Young, Wild, and Free for college students, but I wanted to take that and transform it into something positive, into something that's going to motivate someone. So the thought of me having Young, Wild, and Free is, young at heart, being young, but still being bold, still being powerful, being wild, but wild in the pursuit of your dreams, wild as in being bold, and free as in, free to do whatever it is that God has called you to do, free to express yourself. So this is the book again, and there's actually a wildflower on the cover, which is a pretty cool story. So one day I was actually feeling kind of down, and I think I talk about this a little bit in the book, so feel free to go ahead and get it if you want to just learn more about my personal story in writing the book and where the inspiration came from. But one day I was feeling down, so I decided to go for a run, and on my run I actually saw a wildflower growing in the grass. So what I decided to do was take that wildflower and actually take a picture of it. So this picture that you see on my book cover is actually a picture that I took, and I just thought it was a reminder of God's will for me, God's purpose for me, and what it really means to be a wildflower. So to talk a little bit about the wildflower, and I do talk about this in the book as well, but a wildflower, it grows in some of the most random places. For instance, when I found that wildflower, it was growing in the middle of concrete. So these wildflowers, they grow in different places in the wild, but they grow sometimes in harsh conditions, and that was kind of the inspiration for this book. You may be going through something, you may be dealing with something, but despite what your condition is and despite your surroundings, you're still going to grow, you're still going to bloom, and you're still going to be beautiful. So that was kind of the inspiration behind me writing Young, Wild, and Free. So I wanted to spend some time on inspiration because that's going to be the biggest part of you writing your book. It's going to be whatever that inspiration is that you have, whatever that vision it is that you have, that's going to be the main part of your book. It's also going to play into the cover design. So I already had a vision of what I was going for. I knew I wanted a flower on the background of the book. So that inspiration that you have for whatever your vision is, that's going to determine what your book looks like as far as the cover and as far as the illustrator. So one of my friends actually illustrated the design on this book outside of the flower. So I'll go ahead and show you the cover. So this is the cover of the book. And as you see, I wanted to go for a very bright, colorful theme because that's, what this book is all about. Flowers, growth, all of those things I wanted to relay in the cover of the book. So once you have your inspiration down packed, what it is you're talking about, you have an idea for what you want your cover illustration to look like, it's time for you to start brainstorming. So the brainstorming phase is another important part in writing your book. You kind of want to brainstorm some different ideas. So in this phase, I wrote out some different chapter ideas that I wanted. So my chapters are actually daily devotional days, but I wrote out some different, topics and things that I wanted to talk about. That way I had an idea when it was time for me to write where I was going in the writing process. So once you spend your time brainstorming and putting together the outlay of your book, it's time for you to go ahead and start writing. And this might be the most difficult part of finishing your book, writing, actually putting pen to paper. For me, I didn't actually write my book pen to paper, I typed it, but this was the most difficult part because some days I would have days where I would write and it would just flow and my ideas would just run together so well, and then there were days where I didn't feel like writing, days where I couldn't come up with anything. So just making sure that you spend the time, when you do have that drive, when you do have that push, when you are flowing, to get down as much as possible, because there may and there will be times where it might be a little bit more difficult for you to put your ideas onto paper. So I want to talk a little bit about formatting, and formatting for me was a little bit easier because I actually formatted my book as I was writing. I thought it would be easier for me to format each devotional day after day as I was writing each one, rather than me write the whole entire devotional and then have to go back and format. But it depends on your style and what you like. I liked that I could see my book coming together as I was writing. That gave me a little bit more inspiration to continue to write my book. So that's an option if you want to, start putting your chapters together or start putting the sections together for whatever type of book it may be. As you're writing, that'll help you see the book come together, and that'll give you that extra inspiration to keep writing and to keep pushing. As I formatted and wrote my book, I also edited my book. So after each devotional day, I went back and I edited my book. I know Microsoft Word, or maybe you're doing it on Google Drive. Both of those have editing capabilities. So as you're writing, it'll tell you if you have any spelling errors. It'll tell you if you have any grammar errors. I'm pretty good with grammar. I'm not perfect, but I did a good job as far as editing my book. But I did have someone, after I finished the devotional, go back and edit it for me as well. It's good to have maybe 2 to 3 people to edit it. I was one of the people that edited my own book. So if you don't have someone that can edit, you can also find people online on sites like Fiverr that will be willing to edit your book for a fee. Also, family and friends are great too. If you have any family members who support you, maybe have them read and edit your book, give you some feedback that you can incorporate into your document. So the easiest part, I would say, is the publishing part. I published mine through KDP on Amazon Publishing, and it was a fairly easy process. They pretty much map out the whole entire process for you. If you do want to self-publish a book, or if you want to go with a different publishing company, KDP helps you as far as self-publishing, and each step makes it so much easier for you. Once you get your manuscript finished, it's a lot easy for you to go ahead and upload your document and get your book published. The main thing as a writer they want you to focus on is writing your book, finishing your book, making sure you get that part done. Once you have completed the writing process, it's kind of smooth sailing from there as far as getting your book out there for people to purchase. So I'm going to go over a few parts of the publishing process. I actually published my book in January of 2019, so it's been about 2 years since I published my first book, which is exciting, but I'm going to go ahead and just go through some basic steps just in case you're wondering what KDP offers, what things they'll be able to do for you, or things you might have to do on your own. So let's get into that. So one of the things they'll do for you is they'll allow you to pick a sizing of your book, and they'll allow you to pick paperback or hard copy. So for me, I wanted a paperback copy of my book because I thought it would be a lot better for a devotional. I just like the feel of a paperback for, reading. You can take it anywhere with you. It just seems nice and clean and sleek to me. Or maybe you may be writing a children's book or a different type of book, but they do give you that option. They, as in KDP, they do give you that option to pick a paperback or a hard copy book. They also allow you to choose the sizing. So my book is a 5x8, and I wanted a smaller book. I know they had smaller dimensions than this, but this was a pretty good size for me for writing a devotional. And the smaller that your book is, the smaller your pages will be. So if you have a smaller framed book, then you're going to have more pages but less page length. One thing with KDP that you may need help with is the illustration. So once you actually have your illustration and design done, they will give you a template to upload with your complete paperback. So with my book, this was a part of their template. So the back cover, the spine of the book, and then the front cover, they will give you the template and they will give you the dimensions based on whatever size your book is. And then whoever is doing your editing or whoever is doing your illustrations, you'll just have them use that template to make the spine of your book and to make the back cover of your book. Another part of the writing process that I almost forgot that's important in the book is a dedication, an introduction. Maybe you won't have a dedication in your book, or maybe you want someone to do a foreword. All those things are important in the writing process as well. So making sure you have your dedication done, making sure you have the back cover of your book done. One of the things that helped me is looking at someone else's book and just kind of seeing some inspiration from that, or the formatting that they have, and pulling some inspiration, pulling some ideas from that you like, that you want to incorporate into your book. So now that you have your writing done, now that you have the template for your book done, which is your cover, you can go ahead and decide the pricing of your book. So I based the pricing on my book based off of a good price I thought young college women would be able to afford and would want to spend on a book to help motivate and inspire them. So KDP lets you choose all those parameters as far as your pricing and how you want your book to be priced on their website. You can also do a Kindle version of your book, and I do have a Kindle version of my book. So my Kindle version is actually priced a little bit cheaper than my paperback version, just because Kindle is a little bit more easier to access and they're not actually having to pay for the paperback copy of the book. They're just paying for that access via Kindle to read an online copy. You will need to have 2 different manuscripts for your Kindle version of your book and for your paperback version of your book. Those are uploaded in 2 different places on the KDP publishing site. They also allow you to do a description based on what your book is about that customers will see on Amazon, and they allow you to do keywords as well. So one of the great things about keywords is keywords are based on a search tab. So if someone were to search Young, Wild, and Free into Amazon, that's one of the keywords for my book. So hopefully that would allow my book to pop up for people that are searching for content like that. So that's going to help people who are just on Amazon looking for books to read. That's going to help those customers find your book a lot easier. So I want to talk about fonts. So I know with different types of books, we want really cute and curly and pretty font, and I know for my book, I wanted my headlines and my titles to have different font than, Times New Roman for my actual writing. So what I did was I went on Google and I found a download for a font that I really liked, and I went ahead and downloaded it, and I typed my book with it, but when I tried to upload it to Amazon, the font didn't relay. So if you are going to use any type of font, just make sure, if you can, pick a font that's already on Word, pick a font that's already on Google Drive, because you don't want to type your book in any type of specific font, and then once you go to upload it to KDP, it doesn't show up. Then, like me, you're going to have to go back and completely edit and change each section of your book that contains that font. So that's something that you definitely don't want to do. Just a heads up, especially for those of you writing children's books or books for women. So once you have finished writing your book, once you have your illustration, you've uploaded everything to KDP, you're going to go into your pre-launch process, and during that process, Amazon is going to give you a few months to pre-launch your book, go ahead and get pre-sales before the official launch date of your book. And during that time, they're going to allow you to make any edits that you may need to make, any last minute changes that you might want to make, and they are going to send you a proof for your book. So this is actually the OG version of my book, and as you guys see, it has a strip that says not for resale, so it's just a proof. And this is going to give you the actual visual of your book before your customers get it, before Amazon ships it out. They will allow you to see what your book looks like. So I was fairly happy with this. and the way it came out. I love the color. I loved how the image didn't look blurry, and I think overall it looks really good. The only issue I had was here, the font on the spine of my book was kind of small, so you really couldn't see my name and you couldn't see the title. So that was one of the edits that I made to my book, was changing the font on the spine just so it could be a little bit bigger. So there are little things like that that just having your proof will help you add to your book. Just a couple of good things about overall KDP, publishing with Amazon. It was a very easy process. I mean, they walk you through each step. You don't have to struggle to figure out what to do next. There's a process, and they have resources to help you figure out how to complete and how to publish your book and how to get it live. I also like the fact that once your book is published, you don't have to worry about shipping, so you don't have to worry about, mailing out copies of your book to people. Amazon will cover that part for you, and they will go ahead and get your copies mailed out to your customers that purchase via the website. It comes with a website, so you don't have to have a personal website if you don't want. You can just use the Amazon link to your book to share with family, to share with friends, share with people on social media, however you like to put your book out to the world. Amazon also allows you to purchase copies of your book in bulk. So if your book is $10 on Amazon, you don't have to go to your Amazon link and pay $10 for your book like a customer would, or like someone would online. They allow you through KDP to purchase copies of your book for whatever price it costs to make your book. So also within the process of you publishing and going through KDP, they'll tell you exactly how much it costs to make your book, and that's going to factor into the pricing of how much you price your book, just to make sure you're getting profit or whatever dollar amount you are comfortable with. Ultimately, I would say that the biggest and the most important part in this whole entire process of self-publishing is just finding that inspiration, finding that drive and desire inside of you that wants to create, that wants to write, and sticking with that throughout the writing process, because it can be hard to finish, it can be hard to get it done, especially depending on how long your book is. Luckily, my book is only about 150 pages, so it didn't take me as long, but it does take time, especially you may have times of writer's block, or you may have times where you're feeling unmotivated, but just sticking to that inspiration, that drive behind you that wanted to start writing, that wanted to be an author, or whatever it is, that goal or that dream you had in your mind. Some other parts of the book that might be helpful for you to do are to maybe have a letter to your family or a letter to your friends or supporters. That's something that I included at the back of my book. I call it Dear Family, just thanking everyone that supported me in the process of writing my book and just supporting me throughout my life. And I also have an About Apris section, which is just, telling people about me, about my journey. You want to be transparent with people about who you are, and they want to know maybe what inspired you to write your book or what inspired you to write your devotional. You want to share with your readers a little bit about who you are. So I want to talk a little bit about copywriting as well. So you can find a copywriting template for your book. As far as the copywriting section of your book, you can find a template for that online, and just making sure you're giving any reference to any type of book you might use to pull knowledge from. So for example, my book is a devotional, so I pulled a lot of my scripture references from the Bible and let me rephrase, I pulled all of my scripture references from the Bible, but from the ESV version or from different versions of the Bible that I use. So I just made sure that in the copywriting section of my book, I put that down so you don't have to worry about any type of plagiarism or copywriting issues. Also, make sure you include a section where your readers can find you, whether that's via social media, how they can reach out to you, maybe an email address or some type of way those people that are inspired by your work, they can contact you or they can reach out to you for advice or any type of thing that they might want to share with you, or just make sure that you're staying connected in some type of way with your book to those people that support you. Alright guys, so I think that is the bulk of the process of writing a book. I really hope that this helped you guys. I hope this inspired you. If you had a book that you wanted to write, if you had a book idea, I hope it inspires you to start writing. If you have a book that you haven't finished, I hope it inspires you to finish. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a comment. If you like content like this or want any more information about books or my personal journey in writing Young, Wild, and Free, feel free to ask me any question you might have. I'm going to include the link to my book below, just in case any of you guys want to get it and read it. If you are a college girl and you are trying to learn more about God, you're trying to learn more about your purpose in life and your identity, you may be struggling with what your major is, or you might be struggling with what you want to do after college. Maybe you're called to be an entrepreneur and it's kind of hard for you to figure out which next step to make. This book was written for you, and I promise. So go ahead and check it out. It will help you, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it blesses you. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. See you next time.